I don't really know if there's a wrong way to play Venom. Venom's very good. Venom is very, very good. And a big part of his kit is getting his pistols out, right? Getting the multi-gun out and kind of going from there. You can really choose any aspect for Venom. Realistically, probably any aspect. I haven't really done protection as much, so I don't know how well that works, but I'm sure it will do okay. Maybe not great, but okay. But I have been recently playing an aggression Venom, and I've just been really kind of leaning back into aggression a lot more in general because I like the aspect. I think it's fun. I think it's often overlooked in true solo. It's always kind of treated as you have to do it rush in like 3 or 4 turns to win, and I don't think that's necessarily the case. It doesn't hurt, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. So anyway. Today we're going through my Venom deck that I've been playing recently. Again, I want to stress this is not the best way to play Venom or the only way to play Venom. It's just a way I've been playing Venom and the way I've been playing him somewhat recently. So, with any of my decks, as always, feel free to tinker, to change things. Usually, depending on the villain, you generally have to mess around with some things. But just, FYI, know that. And let's drop down to the table. Let's look at the deck. Or if you'd rather see on Marvel CDB, I'll put the link down in the description for you. All right, here is the deck laid out for you right here. And the deck is doing two different things, really. One, we are focusing a bit on Venom's cards because his kit is incredibly strong and incredibly good. So we're focusing on that. And also, this is half also a Guardian type build, trait build. And so I'm leaning a bit into that as well. So you'll notice that all the allies have the Guardian trait. Now, if you don't like certain allies and rather swap it out with a different ally, feel free to, obviously. But just know that with the allies, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to get Guardian allies in there to help trigger nowhere. So let's start left to right and go through our cards. So as far as allies go, the first one is Gamora. Now, I have Gamora because after she attacks and thwarts, discard cards on top of your deck until you discard an event and add that card to your hand. Now, there are some events here that I don't want as much as his events, but these aren't terrible to get. So these events you can mess around with a bit, and we'll talk about them in a second. But the big thing is his events are pretty strong and what I would like to kind of get into. So then we have Rocket as well. Again, if you don't have a lot of minions in the villain deck, don't worry about Rocket. He's not as important then. You swap him out with like a Martin X or someone that's cheaper to get in play instead. So if there's no minions, don't worry about Rocket. Put someone else in, but I have Rocket in there just in case there's a few minions and you don't want to use your big attacks on those minions. Then we have Drax, really just to kind of help you get through the villain faster. We have Groot to help with blocking because you're going to need some type of blocking a little bit because you don't want to. Getting hit isn't the worst thing as Venom, but you don't want to get hit a ton. And then finally, I have Cosmo. Really, again, as a blocker, as a cheap ally, it lets you look at the decks and manipulate them a little bit, right? By discarding a top card of the deck. If that card is the type that's named, you would not take any consequential damage. But really, it's there as a cheap block, cheap ally. So then we have. Next up is Bug, who I don't mind. After your hero makes a basic attack, heal 1 damage for Bug. Most of the time, you're going to be doing basic attacks with Venom, generally speaking. Not all the time, so this works out pretty well with that. You wouldn't take you would take consequential damage. You just get to heal up after the fact. So you have to be careful with his life and make sure if you either use him as a cheap blocker or not. Like you can't do both, really. You have to choose one path, I guess what I'm trying to say with Bug. Either he's out there as a cheap blocker or that you're going to consistently heal him up after he attacks or thwarts, right? Whichever way you do things. And then Marvel Boy. Again, I like Marvel Boy. I know some people don't. I like Marvel Boy because I like piercing. Tough is one of the, for me as a solo player, one of the biggest momentum killers. For those that don't know and haven't watched me play live, which you should over on twitch.tv/D20 Woodworking or here on the YouTube channel, I play a very faster style play than most people. A lot of people take their time building out, do a lot of rounds, all that fun stuff, which is all fine. And it's a great way to play. I am very fast and I need to get toughs out of the way, especially when I'm gearing up for a big attack, right? So that's why I like someone like Marvel Boy, because I don't mind spending a resource to get him to pierce through some tough and deal a little bit of damage, right? Like I think all that adds up and matters. So for me personally, I don't mind him. I know there's a large group of people out there that don't like him. I've received quite a few comments on him, but I like him for that. And yeah, that's how I look at things. So. All right, let's go into the events now. The first one is First Aid. You could substitute one out and like one of these as well to get like 2 of a different kind of event if you wanted to. It doesn't really matter. The reason I have first aid is because of Venom's main ability, which allows to take a damage to generate a wild resource, which is really strong, but you'll have a lot of damage and pretty quickly. I need to heal him up so I can generate more resources. That's really the key for first aid. I guess you could heal someone else if you wanted to as well, but for me, it's really just I need to heal him up. I need to heal him up is really what it comes down to. So that's why we have first aid in here. Clobber, I've been just messing around with Clobber more often. So for those that don't remember, it's a 2-cost event, deal 3 damage to an enemy. If this is the first card you get played this round, return this card to your hand. I've been playing around with this. I don't know if I love it in this deck, but it is really nice that if you have a couple of doubles or you have enough cards in your hands that you can just do 3 damage, another 3 damage, right? Especially if you're dealing with a couple of minions or whatever else on the board. Do some damage, get them back in your hand, or use as a resource to follow up with. I think that's pretty strong. I think not that it's strong, but I think it's pretty good. And I think it's useful. And it's a card I'm trying to like work into decks a little bit more. Again, we have Precision Strike in here. It's a 1-cost card. Deal 2 damage to an enemy. If that enemy, if the attack defeats an enemy, heal 2 damage to your hero. Once again, I want healing in there because we're going to be naturally taking some hits on the chin, and we're going to be using our life as a resource, a slow resource, but a resource. So you could take one of these each out and put in another event that you think would be good, or take one of these out or one of these, whatever you think works better for your deck. Feel free to modify any way you want. This is just kind of like a starting point, right? Like an idea. So we're going to be using his life as resources. Feel free to take these out and replace them with other bigger attack cards if that makes sense for you, depending on the villain that you're playing, or if you're playing more minions, so on and so forth. So anyway, that's what I've been running recently though, and it works fine. Again, it's a little overkill, but I think it works fine. There's some doubles that we usually have. We have Energy Spear. Now, I like Energy Spear in a Guardian deck because we have so many options for the Energy Spear to go on. Now, again, first aid can be used to heal up whatever ally we have because it's heal 2 damage from any character. It doesn't have to be from your hero. It could be any character on the board. So, for example, if we had Drax with an Energy Spear, he is now would be swinging for 5 with piercing, which is absolutely huge because you all know how much I worry about tough. And then we'd heal him up with first aid, right? So this is another reason why we have some heal ups in here that might seem a little bit overkill just for Venom. Because if we do put this Energy Spear onto an ally, or one onto one ally, one onto another ally, it's nice to be able to ready them up so we're not wasting the Energy Spear when they get knocked out, right? So anyway, that's what we got going on there. We have a combat training because I like to be able to attack more in aggression. I think that's always good. Then we have Nowhere, which the big reason is increase our ally limit is nice, but after we play a Guardian ally, which again is all of our allies, we're going to be able to draw a card, which is really nice. Then we have a Helicarrier, just to help reduce cost of cards. Is always super useful, super nice. So get that into play. It makes everything else a bit cheaper, including his cards, which is nice. Now, Enhanced Awareness is like a little bit of a weird one, and I've been messing more with the Enhanced cards, and I like them for certain heroes, and I like Enhanced Awareness for Venom because it generates a mental resource. Now, why is that important? Well, because if we play a card like behind enemy lines, you remove 3 threat from a scheme. If you pay for this card using a mental resource, confuse an enemy. If we can get this on the table and then reduce the cost with this with Helicarrier, let's say, so it just costs 1, and use Enhanced Awareness, right? We're removing 3, but we're also confusing the enemy, which is really strong in my opinion. Because again, I don't want to be in a spot where, okay, I have to use Cosmo to get there on the table, but I really need him for a resource for this as well. What do you do, right? That's a really tough spot to be in. So that's kind of my rough idea of why I have Enhanced Awareness. I've just been messing around with these cards more recently. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about strategy, and then we'll do some opening hands and finishing hands. All right, so as far as strategy, obviously getting his guns out is huge, right? You want to get his guns out right away, kind of as fast as possible. That's number one, right? The number one thing to do. I like to also get Helicarrier out pretty fast. If I can get Nowhere out fast so that I can help with card draw and getting Guardian allies out there, I will do that. And then everything else is just kind of using his life as a resource, healing him up, kind of doing different things with that, and just slightly building out. You don't need to build out a ton with this deck, just a little bit to kind of get yourself going. And then just really, Venom will just he will fly. Once he gets his pistols and his multi-gun out there, he is super incredibly strong, especially then if you get a running gun on top of it, a round or 2 later. It's very, very strong stuff. It's very good stuff. So that's the main strategy, right? Get all of his kit that he needs out there with his pistols, as well as if you can get Spider Sense, which is a super strong card. And it's really nice. Project Rebirth, I don't mind. I'm not flipping down a ton with this build because I have so much heal on the hero side, so I don't worry about Project Rebirth as much. But if you plan to flip a lot, obviously go for that as well. So let's go just do some practice opening hands to kind of show what that's like, and then we'll do some closing hands as well. All right, so here we are down at the table. Let's shuffle this up. So again, we're looking for his guns right off the bat. If we can get Helicarrier or maybe an Enhanced Awareness out there, that would be nice. Not completely needed. Enhanced Awareness is not completely needed, but I think getting Helicarrier out there is great. And then if Nowhere comes out super early on, that is nice as well. So shuffle this up. Draw our 6 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so we have Rocket. Running gun won't make sense. Behind enemy lines, first aid. Okay, so we got the pistol and we got Helicarrier right away, which is not bad. So we'll dump 4 cards. We'll keep these 2. So 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so this is a little bit of a tough hand because there's so much I want in here. But what we'll do is for set discard cards until we discard a weapon upgrade, which will be the multi-gun. So we're going to go through a lot of cards, unfortunately. Wow, 2 doubles in a row. Behind enemy lines, bug, first aid. This is like the worst part. Is it going to be the last card? Oh, multi-gun. Thank goodness. Okay, so we discard most of our deck. All right, so we have a lot of good cards, unfortunately. So what I'd probably do is actually drop 3 to put Helicarrier in. We exhaust Helicarrier to play the pistol. Sorry, I should flip up. And then I would use a resource to take 1 damage to put the other pistol into play. And then we can exhaust both these pistols to do 4 damage if need be. Or if we need to get the main scheme down a little bit, we can do that. And then ready ourselves up. Hold on to multi-gun and draw 3, 4, 5. Okay. Oof. All right, so we probably take a hit now. Take a hit and all that fun stuff. And then it'll be our turn. I don't like a lot of this, I'll be honest. I would like to play Spider Sense, but multi-gun comes first and foremost. So multi-gun would probably come in. We probably just took a hit, so it'd be nice to use Helicarrier to play first aid to heal up. Again, we could have kept a card for a resource like locked and load doesn't make sense. So yeah, we really couldn't do a resource or anything with this. But then we can use multi-gun to thwart. We can use this to thwart or attack, right? We're dealing a decent amount of damage, and then we'll ready up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And all right, we got some allies finally. So we would, okay, so next turn, again, we're taking another hit, which will always be rough, but that's okay. And then what we can do at this point is if there's no minions, I'm probably looking at Drax. If there is minions, I'm probably looking at Gamora at this point. So I would exhaust 2 and throw away 2 cards to play Gamora, let's say. I'll just say that's the safe play we want to do. I want to take a damage and throw away Drax to play Enhanced Awareness. And then Gamora can attack. We could, if we wanted to, discard until we get in an event. But there's nothing that makes sense to do, so I wouldn't do that. Just because even if we got the event, like, what's the point? We're just discarding down faster. So then multi-gun we would probably use to deal damage or remove threat, whatever needs to be. Same here. And we're already kind of built out and going at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4. We would get a bad card already. But we're pretty much built out. And we can use Gamora as a blocker if we wanted to. Or if we got a first aid, we might just use first aid next turn. So what we could see is, all right, so we didn't get a first aid. So at this point, I probably do. And we don't have fist resources to play this, which stinks. This is one of the weird things that you have to make sure you get the right resources. And unfortunately, I did not this turn. So we probably take the hit. If we wanted to take the hit, we could. But we probably can't do it after that. Let's say we had Gamora take the hit because we don't want to get hit anymore. So it'd be our turn again. And then again, I can use a double to play Bug, let's say. We could do one of the cards for a precision strike to deal 2 damage. Hopefully it defeats the enemy. If it doesn't, if we want to use a Helicarrier to play the other one, if we need to do damage first, right? We do damage there. We do damage here, which lets him heal back up 1, do damage, right? Then hopefully this precision strike, we could have mathed it out so that we would heal up to, because we've been taking a little bit of damage, and then, you know, ready up again. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With this, if we got a first aid, which we did, maybe I had Bug stay another round or two on top of that. Because then we can heal ourselves up. Spider Sense would be nice to get at this point, and then we have behind enemy lines. So next turn, I'd probably get to the point where I don't need to do threat removal with anyone. I can use this and this to remove 3 threat and confuse the enemy, which is helpful. We can generate our 1 resource to put first aid in and do precision strike or whatever else, right? You can already see how it's kind of built out. Again, getting the guns in will help you control the board easily. And then I would have liked to have gotten nowhere in sooner. I think that would have been a little bit more ideal. And getting combat training would have been really nice too. But unfortunately, we didn't get to do that. That's just a rough idea of how it would work. Why enhanced awareness, I think, is really good. Again, grasping tendrils would be nice if you think that's more valuable. Switch enhanced awareness with the physique one. And when the villain initiates attack against you, cancel this attack if you pay for this card using only fist resources, stun the villain. So you have to make sure you can afford it, right? Each time with the fist resources or strength resources. But anyway, that's just another option that you can do. But I personally like confusing, because anytime I get in advance, it kind of screws up my entire game. So let's look at some later stages of the turn and do some practice hands with that. All right, so we're late stage of the game, right? We're a bit more built out. We have a Drax out here with a +2 attack and piercing. We have Spider Sense out there. We have nowhere to trigger if any more Guardian allies come out. We have our guns out, Helicarrier, combat training. This is a really good spot to be in general. If you're built out this much, you're probably good to go. So again, let's do the classic example. The stage 1 of the villain has 2 health left, and we're about to flip over to 18 health. So let's draw up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and see what we would have gotten. Clobber, a double Gamora. Okay, interesting. So what I would probably do for this is right out of the gate, I would do a multi-gun. I would deal 2 damage to the enemy, right? So now we flip the villain and they have 18 life left. Then after that, we could do, let's say they had tough. If they did. If they didn't, that's fine. We could do 5 damage to 18, which brings it down to 13 life. We can use a double to play Clobber to bring them down to 10 life, and we get this card back in our hand. So now what we can do is use a Helicarrier. What did I say? 10 life they had left? Use a Helicarrier, 1 of our life, and a Clobber to play Gamora. Now, after playing Gamora, we can use Nowhere to draw a card, which is a precision strike. So what do I say? They have 10 life left. So we can do this to deal 2 damage. Brings them down to 8. We discard until we discard an event. Okay, Vent is running gun. Wow, that's weirdly lucky. Then we can do, but they had 8 left. So we have 2, 3, 4, 5 damage. So they have 3 life left. We dump all 3 cards. We play a running gun. We ready ourselves up and then just exhaust and win, right? That's it right there. Now, if let's say it didn't work out that well and we had to do 1 more turn, we have Gamora now as a blocker. So Gamora would take the hit. Hopefully we can take a couple hits, initiate the attack. So we have 6 cards, and then we just, again, have to exhaust the win at that point. It wouldn't be too hard to go through at that point. So anyway, once you're built out, it's really just run and gun is huge, and just kind of playing the cards to make sure you do the math correctly. But that's all it really would take. All right, I wanted to do one more final hand, because the last one worked out really well, and people might be like, you won't always draw into run and gun. And that's true, you won't always draw into run and gun. So let's just try it. Maybe I'll get right off the bat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cosmo, double, Gamora, precision strike, and a Clobber. Okay, so with this, again, let's say they have 2. We have 18 to go through after that. I would use a multi-gun. It gets them down to the next stage. We'd still use the same 5 damage, which brings them down to 13. I like the idea then of using a Genius to play Clobber to deal 3 damage to the first card we played. So that would be, what was that? What did I just say? It was 18 down to 13. Brings it down to 10. We get this card back. Let's do 3 cards to put Gamora into play. After doing so, we can draw a card. It's a Clobber. Gamora then, I already forgot where it was at. So it was 18. This brought down to 13. I think we're down to 10 or 8 or something like that. Gamora would attack. We discard until an event. Okay, it's a heal event, which isn't as good. If we need to heal, we can. Or if we rather just use the helicarrier and throw away a first aid to do 3 more damage, we can do that. Then we can attack for 2, 3, 4, 5 damage. Now let's just say, because I kind of messed up on the math and I forgot in the middle of it, let's say he still has a couple life left, right? We're hanging on at the end. Let's ready everything up. Draw our 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, first aid, double, running gun. Okay, so we pretty much have the win. At this point, Gamora would just take the hit and get herself knocked out. That's fine. When the villain initiates an attack against you, we would draw our card. So it's Bug, which is fine. Then it's our turn. Now, if you wanted to, you could use a double to play Bug, to use Nowhere to see what else you would get. Another Precision Strike. Okay, that's fine. Now it's just a matter of winning, right? We just exhaust multi-gun to do damage. We do damage. Drax can do damage. Bug can do damage. That's a lot. I mean, that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 out there on the table. And then we just use a double and a precision strike to do run and gun, which readies all this back up, which again, we can do 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage, right? Because of the combat training. It's another 7 damage. Then we can use precision strike as well if we wanted to. So again, once you're built up and you get some card draw going and being able to use his resource generator, super strong, super good. It's just helpful later on when you get some cheaper blockers in there is nice because you don't want to be taking all the damage, but you can obviously heal yourself up and mitigate that somewhat. All right, so that was how I play Venom. Once again, this isn't necessarily the best way to play Venom. It's just a way I've been playing him recently and been enjoying playing him. Feel free to tweak the deck depending on what villain you play. You'll probably have to do that regardless, but feel free to do that any way you want to. And if you want to see more videos like this, recently I did Nebula. Nebula is right here. It was a pretty fun video to make, so make sure to check it out. And if you made this far, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. See y'all next time.